Hello. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Good. Let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start. Hi, Shijit. How are you?
I'm good, Kilesh. How are you?
All good. Thank you. Mihir, Hadia, now is the
Hadia.
time to switch on the camera.
Hi.
Hi, Saleh.
I'm sorry, I can't switch on my camera. Yeah, my kid's in the background. So as soon as he goes in, I'll definitely switch
Love
on
to
the
see your
camera.
kids.
കേൾക്കണില്ലല്ലോ
Hi, Abhishek. Hi, Mohammed. Amjad. काफी दिनों बाद
Hi.
आए. Okay. 1 more minute, then we will start. What's the update, guys? क्या चल रहा है? Anything done on in Eid holidays और chill मार रहे थे सब?
Only laziness.
Good. Brutally honest.
I didn't even start, you know.
You will
I
have to
only
start.
started 15 minutes ago.
Now I believe there are no long holidays in between. All the kids will have
No, nothing in between now. Nothing in between until now in December.
wait for the National Day now. National Day and Martyrs Day.
Exactly.
Oh my God, a long time.
Long time, correct. Okay, guys, let's start. We have Abhishek with us. Hi, Abhishek.
Hi,
He will
everyone.
be helping us to understand the importance of DAX in Power BI. Please mute yourself if you are not contributing to the discussion or you are not asking any question. Please mute yourself. Okay? Yes. So we have Abhishek with us and he will be helping us. He said that I would like to take them through DAX and make them understand the importance of DAX, why it is important, and most of the new users generally ignore that factor about DAX. Okay. So let us hear him out and see if we can have some takeaways from the today's session. Abhishek, over to you. I will
Sure,
be
thanks.
monitoring the session. Just
Sure,
help you enter other people. You can share your screen, whatever you want to do.
sure. I'll do that. But would it be possible to unmute the rest of the people? Otherwise, it seems a little awkward because
So
I
it
would be
is,
talking in
it is,
silence.
they can unmute. It's just that people will be careless little bit sometimes that some background noise is coming. Otherwise, they have the right to unmute themselves. Okay.
Great, great. Hi guys. My name is Abhishek, and I work as a senior Power BI developer in a company here in the UAE. Before today's session is going to be a very chilled out session, by the way. So there is no hurry. You don't have to worry about anything complicated or any jargons coming up about DAX. I know people have that kind of an impression that if it's DAX, it's supposedly a little complicated or it's a little convoluted. Today's session is going to be a very light-hearted session. I'm just going to talk to you guys. I'm just going to understand the background you guys are coming from. And maybe in the process of interaction, we all get to learn something. The first thing that I would like to know is, do we have anybody here from a programming background or a non-programming background? You can raise your hands or you can just unmute and say, tell me something about yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Shali. I have
Hi,
started my career as a support engineer. Then I was into programming. We were designing the applications related to ATM reconciliation with
okay,
major of the banks in India.
okay.
Then now I'm into a support role, but yes, we are managing projects and everything. So again, an IT background, but yes,
Fantastic.
I know programming. I have
That's good.
a knowledge on programming.
Hi, my name is Manoj,
Hi, Manoj.
and I'm a chartered accountant. I have zero programming background, and but despite that, we have successfully built and implemented some Python programs.
Of course.
and these are being used for the past more than 1 year. Everyone is happy. Apart from that, without the knowledge of VBA, we have implemented some VBA functionalities also that that take care of all these printouts for, say, we have something called attendance reconciliation. Okay, so it will generate automatically the PDF files for some 200 people or thereabouts, and then we have another file that picks it up and emails it to everyone. So,
That's nice.
and apart from that, we have got something like, I had actually developed that program for distribution of Etisalat bills. That was way back in 2013 or 14. I don't remember exactly, but it's still being used.
Manu,
It's still being used.
Manu, just so that you feel good about yourself, I work with chartered accountants, and believe me, they're the smartest lot I've ever seen. My boss is a chartered accountant, and he's fantastic when it comes to data analysis. Like more than Power BI, the sense of analysis that the chartered accountant has, it's amazing. It's really good.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad that you're a part of this group.
Thanks.
Guys, I would request everyone to switch on their cameras. It will make Abhishek feel comfortable and he's speaking to humans. Okay. Don't worry about the background. Okay. Sabka
Yeah,
background.
no, I'm actually sitting in a bus
Doesn't matter.
right now.
Chalega.
It's okay, sir.
So the ambient noise will be a bit higher. So
Keep yourself like switch on the camera and keep yourself on mute if you are not speaking. That's it. Very good.
Well.
Chaliye. Akash, sorry, Abhishek, we can start.
Sure.
Hello, please,
Okay.
sir.
So guys, till now, whatever you've learned in Power BI, so at any given point of time, I'm sure you guys might have been through some materials online, you might have gone through some courses, formally, informally, you might have spoken to a friend who might have told you about DAX. So at any given level, did you guys get a chance to explore or understand the capabilities of DAX or what it exactly does in Power BI, its contribution to a Power BI infrastructure? So do any of you have, if you could tell me something about it?
Yeah, I actually recently started learning Power BI, and that was from Udemy. And the biggest thing that I liked about Power BI, this DAX, is that you can build a lot of measures that you would not otherwise be able to implement. And I mean, you want for each customer, just to give an example, for each customer, whether the revenue is among the highest or it's above the average and all that. I mean, I really found it very interesting. Although being an unfamiliar language, it does pull you down sometime, but then you have to persist at it, and it's very gratifying.
Right. No worries. What you said is absolutely right, because initially when we do start off in this journey of DAX, it gets a little confusing because it's not something that we had seen before. The syntax is very different. The way of thinking is very different. Only once you start getting your hands dirty into it is when you really actually start getting comfortable. And one fine day, let's say after, like this is my personal story. When I started working with DAX, now I'll tell you why am I telling you this and why are we having this kind of a light-hearted session. Is when I started my career, I was not a Power BI developer in the first place. So I was working in BI for a long time, and then I came across a role which required Power BI. So when I joined the organization, the first thing I was informed is that we don't have any other skill except Power BI. And you need to deliver. We have a very less budget, and Power BI is the only tool that we have, and we need to extract and juice every element of that tool to ensure that the money is worth. So that is when I started getting, because it was again a situation where I was desperate because I had to do it. There was no other option. So that is when I started getting my hands dirty out of compulsion. And I realized that, okay, and that's when I started realizing that yes, it does add a lot of value to the whole ecosystem of business intelligence in today's date. So that's why I also want to just know, like, the reason why I'm here today is I just want to bridge that gap between theoretical learning of Power BI and what happens in a real-time scenario. So let's say today, all of you are engaged in some profession or the other, or maybe at some given point of time, you really want to make a serious career in Power BI, or in trying to transition into a data-driven role. So Power BI becomes a very good standpoint from where you can actually launch your career. It's a good launch pad. Business intelligence is a very good launch pad for our data management roles when it comes to actually moving into a more profound data-driven role. So that's why that is the reason why I'm here today. So what I want to do is I just want to show you something that could be aspirational for a lot of you. So you might have seen a lot of fancy dashboards that's being built, or a lot of if you open LinkedIn nowadays, you have hundreds of portals, right? You have Power BI portals where people are posting different kinds of dashboards and they're showing those reports. So I just want to take you to one of them that I've built personally. It's again for a project of mine. So, and just to show you that what you always see on the top is not what it actually seems like. So I'll share my screen. So do let me know once you're able to see my screen. And I love talking, so as I keep demoing the dashboard to you guys, I'll keep having this very lighthearted conversation with you. So don't take it seriously. It's just a very open conversation today. You guys can come and tell me the challenges you are facing. Maybe we can find a great solution. So that's all about the session today. Let me know if you're able to see the dashboard.
It's visible.
Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes, it's visible, yeah.
Okay, great. So this is a dashboard for a gym chain that I built. It was mainly for a gym chain based in the UAE. They wanted to automate their whole system of their PT management system, which is their physical trainer management system. And this is a dashboard revolving around the nitty-gritties and the integrities of their company. So this is what the dashboard is going to look like. So the idea of doing this is not to show you how fancy or how complicated the dashboard is. It's about stressing on only one fact, which is the art of storytelling, which is the most, so it doesn't have to be complicated visuals. It doesn't have to be very complicated charts. It is just about showing, understanding the audience and showing and basically projecting a story for them to consume on a day-on-day basis. So imagine this is the dashboard that I'm going to take you through, just like in a nutshell, to give you a quick understanding of what this is about. So what you see on the top are all the different verticals in a startup level company. So you have sales, you have operations, you have profitability, which is for finance. You want to know about the clients that you have. You want to know, since it's a gym and it's a physical trainer company, so you want to know about the trainers and their performance. So this dashboard covers all the nuances of that business at a certain level. So that, and this dashboard is directed to people who want to use it and use it on a regular basis to study their teams, to understand how the teams are working and if they are meeting the targets, and and regulate their business on a day-on-day basis. So do we have any questions today?
They will come in between if required.
Sure. So as you can see here, this is just a landing page covering one of the verticals of the company, which is penetration or conversions. Conversion as in you convert a client from a free to a paid client. And these are the metrics that revolve around it. So what are the different nuances in this dashboard is that you see the higher level numbers first. There is a concept called the Z order. Are you guys aware of that? Z order basically means the way in which you create the dashboard. There is a certain way in which you read the dashboard, like this. It goes like a Z.
You have Z and you have F also.
Yes, yes. But usually, when we're creating it, we want to keep it in a fashion that it's easier for the audience to consume. So if you look at these numbers, and you see a lot of, I will take you through a lot of lists, because maybe it's right on number 0, that's why there is no details. But the whole dashboard is an amalgamation of a lot of bookmarks, a lot of lists, a lot of DAX, and a lot of complicated modeling behind this. So as you see, this is, if you think from a manager perspective, this dashboard is suited to all the layers in the business. So for a person who's the CEO or the director of the company, for him, this is very intuitive because he can in one glance, he can see what's happening. And that for a business, for example, for a director of a company, he wants to see how his key metrics are functioning, which he can get from these 4 pillars. He wants to know how the conversions in the company is looking like. He wants to know what the sales is looking like with respect to targets. He wants to see the operations as a gym company. Doing sessions is the juice in the business. So how many sessions are the trainers doing on a cumulative basis? He wants to see if the company is profitable or not. These are the 4 main pillars. He's going to wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee, and this is the first thing that he would want to see on his phone. So for him, getting into too much of details comes at a much later stage. Only if he finds an anomaly at this layer is when he pushes this dashboard to the respective people or the respective department. Today, if he feels, okay, my sales numbers are not right, he's going to go into the sales page. Just a minute. Yeah. And then he get a very detailed level view of what is happening with respect, what's going wrong, and where is the problem and how can they fix it. So as you can see, there are a lot of indicators in the business with respect to last month, with respect to last year. You have a lot of these tachometer graphs which do a cumulative of your targets to total sales. If you have new clients, you have renewal clients, you have sales versus last year, versus last month. So from a technical aspect, if you think about it, you can see a lot of data intelligence functions that's being used in this kind of dashboards. You have a lot of aggregation and iteration that's happening. If you see this graph, this shows the data for the last 6 months with respect to the selected slicer. So when I select December 23 here, this graph will only filter dynamically for the last 6 months with respect to December. So these are something that needs a lot of work on inactive relationships and what. So as you keep delving deeper, you would get a more profound understanding of how these trends and how these the functionality of these graphs work. What you see here are a lot of these KPI calculations which are date dependent. What you see here is a running total, which is again a separate calculation. What you see is a dynamic text. So in a nutshell, if he looks over here, he can understand, okay, so my average daily sales is 30,000 dirhams, for example, which is less by 38% with respect to last month. So he knows who to catch. So in that case, he's going to direct this number to his sales team, and he's going to tell them, okay, can you please tell me what's happening, what's going wrong? And maybe he can track his business in a much better way using these kind of highlighters, these kind of figures. If he wants, now, for example, imagine I'm the sales guy and I receive this report on a daily basis. I see, okay, my average sale is this much and it's down by 30%. I want to go and check my sales analysis to see where it went wrong. So if I go here, I have a deeper analysis or a deep down analysis of individual metric where it went down. So over here, if I look at this table, I can quickly glance through it and I realize that there are certain packages which are not selling well compared to a certain packages which are. So this is how I slowly start gaining control over the business. And over time, as I keep adopting this kind of a report in my day-to-day life, I start realizing, okay, so this is where I need to correct myself. This is where I'm doing well. So these are certain things. These are just examples of how these kind of dashboards actually make a lot of sense. Just give me a minute, please. So these are ways in which these kind of dashboards are. So the idea is to not just to show fancy diagrams and graphs. It's also about actionable numbers. If you observe very keenly, the reports are not very fancy. It's a very basic granular report, but it conveys a story at each and every layer. That is very important whenever we're talking about storytelling through numbers. So this is something I just wanted to show you in a nutshell. So you might be thinking this dashboard. So from a business perspective, from an end user perspective, I find this dashboard very granular. It's very helpful for me. Okay, I'll take one more page. This is a very interesting page. It's called profitability, something of pivotal importance to my CA friend in the team. So I'm sure every single day he's breathing profitability and he wants to know more if the company, if my P&Ls are in green or it's in red. So details like this really help him understand. If he wants to know, this is my overall profitability, I want a detailed level profitability as well. In that case, he can obviously go here and he will get a detailed level profitability for each and every trainer or each or every client, the trainer in this case. So this is just to give you a quick insight about how these dashboards help businesses actually pivot their service. So do we have any questions still here, or am I just going too fast?
I have something, Abhishek, if no
Sure.
other person is asking. Okay. So I can see that this dashboard is having a lot of details, and I can see on the right side there are roughly 10 to 15 tables only for measures. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, can you suggest, like, if a person is really new to learning Power BI,
Right.
okay, what are the functions or the formulas which he should focus on in maybe the initial phase?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Because generally people are scared of Excel formulas itself. DEX
Of
थोड़ा
course. Of course.
नाम से ही complex लगता है, right?
No, of course, of course. Hey, the reason I was showing this is because this is just, I was just trying to create an aspiration that maybe at some point of time, I would want to create something of this, of this caliber, because then I believe that this is a very good example of how DAX or measures are getting justified at each level. Because if you see a lot of these visuals, they are not already available visuals. A lot of them have been calculated. So that is where I'm coming to. So this is just to give them a pre-sight about how these dashboards work effectively when we incorporate a lot of DAX and we incorporate a lot of data modeling at a certain level. Now, coming to DAX. So as we said, so what is about DAX? First of all, it is, I'm sure by now you guys must have heard about filter context and row context and these kind of terminologies while doing the course. Am I right?
They don't really know about filter context and all. Some people might be aware. Some of them are totally new. Okay. But they have heard about or seen the slicers and all, and the selections and all. So which in terms generate the context, right? One way or other.
Okay. So I'll just give a pretext of what these measures are in that case. So measures will actually take, for example, I'll just take you through a measure. That would be, I think, would be a better idea.
Yes.
Just search for.
In fact, it would be great to tell people that what is a measure in simple terms, layman terms.
Okay, what is the measure? Sure. So what a measure is basically a calculation. In absolute layman terms, measure is a calculation which allows you to add a layer of complexity or a layer, an additional layer on top of your drag drop. For example, today you have a data model which has sales and quantity in two columns, right? So if you multiply the sales with the quantity or with the price, quantity with the price, you get the sales, right? So that even something as simple as multiplying the quantity with the unit sales, that is also a measure. So the moment you do that, you're basically adding another layer of calculation on top of your existing data model. So when we say existing data model, what I mean is when Power BI or these tools came into effect, they were mainly software as a service tool. They are mainly analytics as a service tool. They were intended for drag drop mechanism. So the reason why am I saying this? Because it is to make life easier for people to analyze data as per their own convenience. Today, when you're creating a pivot in Excel or you're creating a chart in Excel, you're essentially doing the same thing. You're analyzing the data, you're summarizing it, and you're getting an insight. That is the same thing measures help you do in a dashboard. So it is just like when you're doing it in Excel, you are essentially dealing with sales. So it's A2 into B2. That is something which you're doing in Excel, or you're doing a pivot. So what does a pivot do? It groups it. When you, let's say you have sales by month, so you group it by month. So that's again an analysis at the end of the day. You're analyzing which month is better, which month is lower. You create a pivot. With the pivot, you sort it in descending order. That's a very good analysis at the end of the day, where you can understand that, okay, this month was the highest sale, this month was the lowest sale. Similarly, when you're working with Power BI, the transition, there has to be a slight transition that you need to think in terms of tables. It's not cells anymore, because each measure that you create will actually impact the whole row. So that is what, but at the end of the day, in nutshell, a measure is just a calculation to help you achieve your desired output. Today, if your business tells you that get me the average sales of the month, you would ideally you would be able to calculate average sales per month using a measure. That is something which you can do at a drag drop level also, but a measure will also add to that layer of flexibility. So when you're creating a measure, you can use that measure to visualize a certain number through a graph, through a slicer, through a pivot. It could be anything. So that is what a measure is in very simple terms.
Can you show us some examples of creating some simple measures to start with?
Sure.
What is the difference between drag and drop, which people generally love when they start,
Sure.
and how they need to make that transition soon to the measures or the calculations?
Right. Let's try this out. Just give me a minute. I'll quickly set up a situation so that it's easier to understand.
No problem. Guys, if you remember, I will take you to the first interaction which we had, the workshop. When we were dropping the sales column on any chart, it was generating sum of sales. So it was also doing a calculation. It's just that you were not aware that it is doing it. It was also a DEX. Okay. Something which you write on your own, that is also a DEX. Something which is generated when you drag and drop, that is also a DEX. DEX is simple, a formula or a calculation. Okay.
Yes.
It can be simple net sale related thing, Abhishek.
I think I've checked the data type of this column. That's why. So
Okay.
I just took out a dashboard quickly to just show them. That's why I just have to prep it a little bit. Just give me a second.
Okay. Meanwhile, let me open something. So those who are getting scared of DEX तो बनेगा ही बनेगा, right? Whether you do it or Power BI does it, it will be there.
At any level, it is happening in the back end also.
Okay, it's just that the abbreviation DAX is getting like scaring you. Otherwise, it is a simple formula. We write some formulas in Excel. Some of them are simpler. We are able to write. Some of them are complex. We don't write. We skip them. Simple. Okay. So as per your comfort level, you go. But it doesn't mean that you will never explore complex things. Okay. How to add 3-4 windows of measures and filters? Hadia, can you explain this question a little more by unmuting yourself?
Yeah, you see this on the right side, the data, visualizations, and then there is quick measures
Yes.
and filters. We didn't see them yet last time.
Okay. So right side, he was having certain tables which are measure tables, right? That's what you are asking?
No, I'm asking that how to add them. For example, they are added only when we want to make a measure, when we want to make filter or measure, or what exactly?
Right. Which one? There is filter, there is quick measure, there is
No,
visualization.
you see on the right there is data, okay?
Yes.
Next to
Yes.
it, visualizations,
Yes.
and next it's quick measure, and next to it filters.
Yes. So
We
they are
are having only data and
automatic. Only
visualization.
quick measure he has activated just now. Otherwise, filters, visualizations, and data, they are always there. It's just that you need to open it or close it.
Okay. Let
Okay.
me just,
Quick
yeah.
measures, you can ignore it for the time being. Like it will come with time. Okay. So I will share my screen, Abhishek, for some time
Yeah,
until
sure. I'll create a use case by then. Yes.
you're done.
I'll create a measure by then just to show them.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
share your screen.
Fine. I hope my screen is visible. Abhishek, you can stop sharing.
Yeah.
Guys, screen is visible? Yes, no?
Yes.
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 Okay. So I will go with very, very simple things. One of the data set which you have been seeing again and again. You see here, this is sale. The sigma sign, this is the original column in the table. And if I show you here, the data looks something like this. Invoice dates and sale. Okay. Now, when you try to put this sale into a chart, okay. So let's say we create a simple card or maybe a table, simple table, so that we can add more measures also. When I bring it here, it is consolidating the number in the form of a single number. Okay, let me increase the font size. So 165 million. But we just drag and dropped. But Power BI has to do something because there were roughly 80,000 cells in that column which you were using. So it has to summarize it. It cannot show 80,000, 83,000 cells or something like that. Okay. So this is known as, I think Abhishek can correct me, implicit measure, something which
Yes.
Power BI generates on its own.
Yes.
Okay. But what if my boss says, can you add maybe 5% VAT to this number, assuming that this is not having VAT? So what you need to do, you need to multiply it by 1.05. But here, when you have dragged and dropped, you have only this option to change the summarization, whether I should do sum, average, minimum, maximum. There is no option of multiplying with that 5% factor. And today it is 5%, tomorrow it can be something else. We don't have that option. So that is why there is some limitation with drag and drop. So how to overcome that limitation? Then we go for measures. And measures is a simple formula kind of thing. You can simply right click on any table or anywhere you can right click, and then you will get some options, new measure. You also have an option here, new measure. You will see it at multiple places. So when I click on new measure, you have to write something, some formula. So it will activate the formula bar. And once the formula bar is active, it will again say what is the name you want to keep for this. And let me type it as sales underscore M, just to mention that it is using measures. Now, what is the formula? There are 83,000 lines or cells. How do you want to summarize it? So we will simply write sum of a particular column, which is sale. And sale column is here. And close the bracket. When I press enter, I will get the sales measure listed here, sales underscore app. And now if I drag this on this table, I get the same number, 165 PV. Guys, please mute yourself if you are not asking a question. Okay. So we got the same number. One thing Power BI did, one thing you did. But this, because you have done it, you have more control on it. If someone says, can you generate this number using 5% extra VAT? I can simply go to the formula, multiply it 1.05, press enter, and now it is having the sales with VAT. So one of the main reason why we go for the measures created by us, so that we can have a better control on the calculations. Because the drag and drop will give you some things, but there will be so many other things which will be missing. Right, Abhishek, are you ready now? You're on mute.
I was just trying to replicate whatever you were doing. So at the end of the day, we were both essentially doing the same thing.
हाँ ठीक है. कोई
So
बात नहीं.
even if I'll just resonate with whatever you said, yeah, what you said is absolutely correct. So
Correct.
we got more control over the calculations that we develop using measures.
Correct. And there is one more context on measures, that sometimes because you are coming from Excel kind of scenarios. So let's say someone wants what is the profit. Okay. So you might create sales minus cost here itself in one of the column. And that's what we did in the workshop, just to maintain that same knowledge level of Excel. Okay. So that it is relatable. But what will happen if I do that thing? It will generate, how many rows are there? 79,000 rows are there. It will generate those many cells using formulas physically in the table. Okay. So now let me show you one more way to do that. Let's say I'm interested in the profit. So what I will do, I will click on new measure. Formula bar will become active again. I can name it profit underscore M, sum of which column? Sales column. This is sale column. So that's my sales value, minus sum of cost column. This will be my profit. So what was getting done in 80,000 lines, now it is done in just one single formula. So I would say the efficiency of writing measures, or the way measures works, they are very, very efficient rather than creating a column for something similar.
Yeah.
And the result will be absolutely same. It will be exactly same. And it is not, so you can see it here, but if you look at the tabular view of the data, the profit column is not there because it is not a column of the table. It is a calculation on top of the table. And that's why it is super efficient.
Yes.
Okay. Abhishek, please feel free to add other things and maybe
Yeah, so,
share your screen also.
as you rightly said, Akhilesh, I just want to add one more leg to what you said. Absolutely. So what makes it even more interesting after a point of time is when we start exploring iterator functions. So right now we'll not get in detail, but when you add, so what iterator, the difference between what Akhilesh did is he worked with aggregations, sum of sales minus sum of cost. So this is an aggregation. So what iteration does is helps us calculate the same number using certain filters or certain conditions. So that is something, once we start getting into iterations, is when you realize that we could, because at the end of the day, there are at a business level, you would end up having a lot of complicated calculations. A lot of them. For example, for somebody who's working in finance, calculating client lifetime value or something of, let's say, deferred revenue. These are concepts. These are financial concepts at the end of the day. So when you're calculating these kind of concepts, it is not very straightforward as calculating a column and then getting the value from there directly. So there we need to start understanding how tables work inside calculations and how iterations work inside calculations. But we'll get there eventually once we get a good hold on this. Once we have the foundation of DAX, you would realize that part is very easy. It's not complicated. We just need that sense of imagination of how a table will react when a certain measure is written on top of it. That is what iteration is. It will look at it row by row and it will filter the data according as per your requirement. So just to give you a very simple example, sum is a aggregator, sum X you might have heard is a iterator. Sum X does the same sum of sales data sale basis certain conditions. Today, if Akhilesh had to write sum of sales data sale where maybe product ID is 5, that would be an iterator. So something of that sort, yes. So if you look at the syntax very closely, iterators work on tables, not on columns.
So what he's saying that you can also do it like this. So I need to do a certain calculation and I can also write sale column.
Maybe you could do budget into something just to show him.
I'm doing the same thing so that they can relate.
Yeah, just do the same thing. I think that would be perfect. Then just do the same calculation.
Minus cost column. The difference between upper one and lower one is here it was taking the sum of whole column first and the cost column and then was taking the difference.
Right now, what it's doing, it's going inside the table. It's calculating the sale minus cost first. Then it is adding an aggregator on top. Then it is
adding. So sum X is like your sum product function in Excel.
Yes.
Okay. So where the calculation happens first at the line level and then you can aggregate it. Then you are summing it. So same thing will happen and the result will not change.
Yes.
It will be simple. 74,334,000. Okay. Yes, Abhishek, other things, any other things? Maybe what we can do, let's create a simple list of measures. We have Vineet also here, I guess. Vineet is here. Yes, Vineet. Okay, good. And Abhishek. So दो धुरंधर हैं जो DAX से बहुत प्यार करते हैं. ठीक. And I am from your side जो कि DAX को avoid करते हैं initially. ठीक है. Initially avoid करते हैं, but I know the importance of DAX. So let us prepare a list of functions.
Yes.
People when they are just starting learning Power BI कि भाई इतना करो starting में and then you don't need to worry about it. Okay, slowly and slowly you can upgrade, but starting these things should be covered at least.
Yes, yes.
What are those DAX functions?
I would any given day start with something known as, let's go with the basics first. Sum, count, average. Let's just write the aggregating functions first.
Correct.
Min, max, you can add min, max to it also. Really helpful.
So you might, some of you might argue that these things are automatically available by drag and drop, but then you will lose the flexibility. So even if you don't need these things, still do these things. Start using these like small or simple measures and plug them into the visualizations.
Yes.
Okay. What else? So
the moment they are comfortable writing aggregators, they can move to iterators, which is sum X, count X, average X.
Aggregator functions.
One of the things that I have found really helpful while, using functions and text expression is to maintain an Excel sheet and write whatever the new learning is there along with the illustration. So that is something, because I'll tell you, I mean, the learning that I was working on, I created something like 50 to almost 60 measures. And it's, at some point in time, you lose track of what you are doing. And then when you have to use a particular DAX function, you are fumbling around and looking for that function.
Yes.
But if you are maintaining an Excel sheet along with the examples, it makes it so much better to work through it.
You're right. You're right. Initially, it's really helpful to have a list of these, because what happens eventually is, initially it's very good, but once you keep writing it day in and day out, you get used to it, and then it's becomes like muscle memory. You don't have to remember it anymore automatically, because at the end of the day, you just have to understand how these measures, how the data flows through these measures. The moment you understand that concept, which is the most difficult part, you would automatically you will realize all this is very simple. You just have to understand how the data behaves around these measures. The moment we are able to explain to you successfully and the moment you start getting comfortable around it, it's very easy. But what you said, it's a very good practice. I always do that myself.
Okay. Sum X, count X, okay, which are of same
Average X. Sum, count, average, min, max.
Correct.
This will help you solve 40% of all the problems.
And these are the problems which every organization is having most of the time.
Yes, this will help you solve 40%, and add calculate to it. It will solve another 30%.
Calculate will solve 100% of the problem. Okay.
Calculate and related.
Yes, related is also a good function.
Related is also, yes, it's a context-driven measure. It's also very useful.
So those who love VLOOKUP and all, related is your go-to function.
Related, lookup value, those are good. They work very well for those lookup level problems. Yes. Another thing I would really focus on when I'm working on this is table functions. So when we say table functions, I essentially mean all.
Nice.
Filter. We'll start with filter.
Okay.
Filter. All except, summarize,
correct,
add columns,
okay,
yeah, these in combination will do wonders.
Calculate table and all will come. Okay. I will write
calculate table is exclusive. It's a different category by itself. So
I will write calculate. That's very, very important.
Yes. Actually, calculate table also comes under a table function, but still it's context transition that way.
Okay.
So calculate table.
We will only keep which a beginner should focus. Okay. Baki nahi ghusenge usme.
I think calculate, and after this, let's go to date functions. Date add.
Yes, date functions are important because most of the businesses are like requiring comparison with time. Okay.
Yes. Historical data, trend analysis.
Yes. So date
Maybe
function.
we'll have to add some logical functions also. If and switch.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Switch, if and switch. Yes.
Yes. Date functions have, can you name a few of them?
Date add.
Year, month.
Year, month and all, they are fine. I would say the MTD concept and YTD concept is there. So
yes,
dates MTD is
dates MTD, YTD, QTD.
Yes, dates MTD and dates YTD. This you will need very, very soon. Okay.
Yes.
And there is a particular video in the portal itself. Just go through it to revise these functions. Dates MTD, dates YTD, similarly QTD and all, so many other things will come. Like Priya was mentioning year function, day function, month function. These are similar to your Excel. So you don't need to recap them. Okay. You can write it with the same knowledge.
Akhilesh, I'll just add to what Priya said. It's a very interesting observation because we need this function, but when we are creating a calendar table, year function, month function, a day function, we need it when we are creating a calendar table. And whenever you're working in Power BI, always remember that the first step towards a successful data model is creating a date table. That is the first step towards creating a robust data model. It will give you date level flexibility to extent you can't imagine. And you will thank us later on. It is one of the best things to do.
And these functions
Exactly.
won't work if that date table is not there.
Yes.
Okay, they only work when an external table is there. Okay.
Yes.
So I am not sure it is there or not there, but it should be there, and we can share it again. We have created a simple Power Query direct code for generating the date table.
Date table.
Okay. So you don't need to write some functions. It will be simply giving you the full calendar automatically once you decide starting date and ending date.
Yes.
Okay. So
Akhilesh, do we have any time or something in this with date?
no, time is not considered in this. This is mainly for the date calculations. Okay.
Okay.
Because
I
time,
will
there
tell
is
you
no limit. At
who
what
asked
level
this?
you will.
Sailesh asked this question.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Sailesh, I'll give you a very good use case where time is used. For example, if you have records on the same date, for example, you want to find when was the last purchase made, but you have two
Right.
purchases on the same date. That is when date time comes into effect. Because when you do a max on the date, it will give you a wrong value if you're only doing basis the date value. That is where date and time together would make a lot of sense. Because date can be same, time cannot be same, right? There has to be a second difference, at least a
Right.
second difference in terms of two consecutive sale of a product. So that way, date time is very critical when we are doing any kind of sorting or any kind of filtering basis. Like basically when you're trying to calculate max of date, min of date, like things like that.
Yeah, Abhishek. And also, probably if you want to take a load or something, so what is the peak hours or where we have a maximum load if we are trying to compare or identify, where time will play an important role.
Yes, yes. There are many use cases to time. There are many use cases.
Yes.
So Sailesh, the thing is that time will anyway with there in the date table.
Yes.
Sorry, the transaction table. Okay. So the need for the time, whatever it is, can be fulfilled most of the time from the transaction table itself.
Yes.
But for the MTD, YTD, these kind of things, you need an external table, separate table. Okay.
And you know why, as just to add to what Akhilesh said, why the date table is important for these MTD calculations. Imagine you have a transaction table of the list of products which have of the sale of products in the month of January. Now, for example, you have missing dates in that table. You have 1st of January, there was a sale. 2nd of January, there was a sale. 3rd of January, there was no sale. We'll move to the 4th January directly. When we do these now if we do a dates MTD on this table, there is a very high probability that during the calculation, the missing column will not be considered in the first place. So that will impact your number of rows in the calculation. And you know when it really impacts, when you're calculating daily average. For example, I'm calculating what is my daily average sales for a month. So in the month of January, I need 31 days to be calculated in my denominator. But if I take it from the transaction table, if there is a missing date, that day will not be calculated. So my denominator will become 29. That will give me a wrong value. That is why the date table is very important.
Correct. And
so basically when we speak, so it is like a date table we should always have as a dimension rather than picking up the dates from the fact.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Correct.
Another interesting function that I used is s more than 1.
Which one?
Has more than 1.
Has one value.
Has one value.
Has one value.
Yes.
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 That will help you to switch.
It's a very interesting function when you're trying to switch and when you're trying to make visual level corrections. For example, filter level, visual level corrections. It's a very good measure. Has one value, selected value.
Okay. So those who want to recap this, at least basics of DAX, okay, just go through your section 4 of the course. We have some count, other things, some X is there, related is there, okay. The filter context and all, they are not there, okay. They will come later. Date related calculations are there, calculate is there, okay. So try and like revise those calculations through the course, and then come up with some questions. Try something in your own data set during the week, and then maybe next week you can ask more questions on these things, or whenever you want, you are ready to ask.
Akhilesh, can I just give them like a small assignment if they're interested? It would really help them understand DAX
Sure,
a little
sure.
deeply. We already have the date table. So first thing is to create a date table and create a running total. So you'll create a month year in a slicer, and you will create a running total of sales when a certain month is selected in a graph. So technically your line chart should keep going up like this for any given month.
Guys, did you understand the question? Abhishek, can you show your dashboard? उसमें था एक chart, right?
Sure. I'll just share my screen for a minute.